Could you provide an update on See's Candy's performance and projected growth, as well as an overview of NetJets' performance since acquisition and whether it has achieved its potential? It has been a while since we have heard about both companies.
With See's, it hasn't been a question of opening stores. We found out that we have this wonderful brand that doesn't travel. The mystique, the actual product, the feelings people have about some things, as we said before. I mean, sometimes it's limited to given markets. Dr. Pepper sells at a huge rate in Dallas, Fort Worth, and maybe 10 times the percentage per capita maybe that it has in Detroit or Boston. And you say, well, how can that be with the product's been around for a century and people travel and you have national advertising? And I'm not sure, but I keep learning more as I watch different brands. And Charlie and I, our economics were so good in California that we tried to, in many cases, the same experiment over and over again. It doesn't cost much to experiment. We've tried everything in the world to cause the brand to travel. And we always think we were right for the first week. And then we find out that the magic, we can beat any other candy store pretty much, but there aren't any candy stores anymore to speak of as the world has changed. So See's is 101 years now. It has magic, and it has limited magic in sort of the adjacent West. You can almost, it's gravitational almost. And then you get to the East, and incidentally in the East, people prefer dark chocolate to milk chocolate. In the West, people prefer milk chocolate to dark. The East can sell miniatures in dark. The West, I mean, there's all kinds of crazy things in the world that consumers do, but you want to keep observing it because you do learn a little. And with Charlie and I, the temptation to keep trying things because the economics were so good if we succeeded. So we tried various things. And of course, every manager wants to try it that comes along because they've learned, that it should work, but it doesn't work. But that's what makes it very interesting. And NetJets, we have really learned how to distinguish, justifiably distinguish, a service to people, so that if you have to be very well-to-do to use it. But if you're very well-to-do, you're spending your heirs' money. I mean, it's what I told my Aunt Alice after she went from teaching to be worth millions and millions of dollars, and she came to see me. She'd never been married, and she said, "Can I afford to buy this for a coat in 1968 or 9?" And I said, "Alice, you aren't buying it. Your nieces and nephews are buying it because that's who you're leaving your money to." And speaking on behalf of your nieces and nephews, I've said, we want you to buy it. And it's the same way, do your heirs want you to fly around in NetJets, or do you want to leave a little more money to your foundation or to your kids? And the way to solve that one is to offer your kids a few hours themselves, and then their attitude can change. So it's in a class by itself. It's done what Ferrari has done in a different sort of way in cars. Ferrari sells 11,000 cars a year. I mean, maybe 12,000. And, they're known throughout the world. And we'll have a Chevy dealership in Austin or something. We'll sell as many cars, but we're not Ferrari. And NetJets has 600 well, counting Europe, I mean, it's maybe 650 planes. We're going to buy 100 planes this year, and we won't sell any because we've got a backlog. And we took a NetJet flight over to Tokyo, and we arrived in good shape, and we spent a couple of days there, and we flew back, and there's just nothing to it. Now, you can say, well, you're getting sort of decadent and all that in your old age, but the money will go to philanthropy, and the money will probably be $100 billion or more, and I figure the philanthropists want me to spend a few bucks on myself. All it has to do is be better than the last dollars that are spent by various philanthropies, which have plenty of problems finding things to do that make lots of sense. So, NetJets, there isn't any competitor. I mean, we looked at the other day, Wheels Up, stock came out of $10 a couple years ago. It was selling at 48 cents the other day, and they've got 12,600 people that have given $1 billion, a little over $1 billion on prepaid cards where they've given them money and they get a certain number of hours later on. And they don't, I think there's a good chance that some people are going to be very disappointed later on. And when they have money to do NetJets, they know they'll get on the same planes with the same pilots as I and my family have flown on since before we bought the company. So it's not shaped by, the decision wasn't shaped by some commercial objective. A couple of years before, I'd never heard of NetJets, and Frank Rooney mentioned it to me, and I bought share immediately, and we bought the company, and my kids have to fly commercial sometimes, but sometimes they get to use ours too. But I've never flown anything else, and why would I? I mean, it's the gold standard, and nobody will match our fleet. I mean, if you've got 600 planes, you've got them a lot more places in the United States than anybody else will have theirs. I think we're the second largest fleet, counting the commercial airliners, and our fleet's growing, like I say, at the rate of 100 planes a year. So it's a marvelous company, and Adam Johnson has performed. You just can't believe what he's done with the business, and it was a tough model for a long time, but he's brought it where it is, and we should have a wonderful company for forever. Charlie?
Well, NetJets has been remarkable. You can argue that it's worth as much as any airline now.
Oh, it's so different. And Charlie, we had a hard time selling Charlie a NetJets membership, and then we figured the way to get him to buy a membership was to put a coach seat in the fuselage. and that really knocked him off. I mean, I think he's the only one we sold on the basis of.
I used to come to the Berkshire annual meetings on coach from Los Angeles, and it was full of rich stockholders, and they would clap when I came into the coach section. I really liked that.
But I got to tell you, we semi-corrupted him. He feels he kind of has to explain it, but he still flies at NetJets now. So, and it'd be crazy not to. You know, your heirs are paying for it. I mean, if you find me anybody whose estate came in at less than zero because what they spent on NetJets threw them into that position, let me know. But I've never seen a case yet. It won't be the case with the Buffett family, and it's the residual bottom beneficiary that's paying for your membership, and it's a little hard to get used to paying that much money, though, when you live like Charlie and I have most of our lives. Okay.
Despite being a century-old brand, See's Candies has limited appeal outside of the West Coast, where its popularity is almost gravitational. The product's appeal, or magic, is hard to replicate in other regions of the US. Berkshire Hathaway has experimented with various strategies to expand See's Candies beyond its current popularity, but the brand's appeal has remained limited to certain regions. Despite the company's efforts, the brand's magic has been hard to replicate elsewhere. Buffett thinks that NetJets is better than any other private jet companies because they have a larger fleet, better pilots, and a proven track record. Additionally, NetJets offers a prepaid card system that allows customers to purchase flight hours in advance, which he believes is a better model than the ones used by competitors like Wheels Up. Both Buffett and Munger personally use NetJets for their private flights and have purchased memberships with the company. They believe that the benefits of NetJets, such as convenience and comfort, outweigh the cost. Both Buffett and Munger think highly of Adam Johnson and believe that he has done an excellent job growing NetJets despite it being a tough business model. They view NetJets as a wonderful company that will continue to perform well under Johnson's leadership. Charlie Munger was initially hesitant to purchase a NetJets membership, but ultimately decided to do so after being offered a coach seat for future flights. This was a unique selling point that convinced Munger to invest in a membership. They acknowledge the cost of a NetJets membership is high, but they believe that it's ultimately worth it for people who frequently fly privately. They argue that the cost is offset by the convenience and comfort of flying with NetJets and that the company membership fee is often paid for by the person's company or business.